This essay example, as well as thousands of others, is available in text format on our website for free and without registration. Simply Google Ivy Panda Free Essays.
Outline. It is still quite unclear why an adult male would choose to expose his genitals in public. One theory that has been put forward to explain such behavior suggests that exhibitionists are normally under some stressful conditions, and they try to relieve this stress through the exposure of their genitals in the act of masturbation. Exposure is also said to lead to sexual excitement in the subject. Some other theorists also associate the behavior with males who have been emotionally damaged by women, and because of feeling less confident in terms of masculinity, exposure helps to reaffirm the feelings of inadequacy. Yet others could just be angry with people in general, and the purpose of creating such kind of attention is primarily to create shock as well as degrade people, particularly women. After exposure, exhibitionists normally retreat to a private place and masturbate so as to achieve an orgasm if one was not achieved on the spot. Ideally, the goal behind such action is to achieve some form of sexual gratification. Introduction. Exhibitionism is a criminal offense in which certain people, usually adult males, deliberately expose their genitals under very inappropriate circumstances. A typical male exhibitionist will expose his genitals to very unsuspecting strangers, usually in public places like schoolyards, parks, and bus stops, most of whom are women and children. Most exhibitionists get into the habit quite early in life, normally between teenage and the age of 20 years, and for this reason, most of them are typically young in age. Women exhibitionists are not common, and those who engage in the habit often take up paid employment in places like restaurants where exhibitionism is practiced. Behaviors, goals, and characteristics of exhibitionists. The greater percentages of exhibitionists either expose their genitals to unsuspecting victims or masturbate in their presence. Others may be verbally aggressive, use obscene language, or relay their desire for sex through nonverbal actions. Some exhibitionists, however, tactfully attract unsuspecting victims to some selected and more isolated spots, such as inside a car or a bench in a public park. A very small percentage have exhibited a desire or attempted to touch their victims. They thrive on such reactions as anger, embarrassment, fear, and shock from their victims. Victims who, for example, react negatively by laughing may incite violence or hostility from the exhibitionists because exhibitionism is facilitated by a strong need for admiration and attention as well as a strong urge to overcome feelings of shame and inadequacy. Sexual gratification is achieved through the victim's response, with orgasm being reached during exposure and masturbation on the spot or by masturbating later to achieve an orgasm. Most exhibitionists are risk-takers and make little or no attempt to conceal their identity, a characteristic that has been suggested to heighten sexual arousal in the subject. They try to use exposure as a replica for a sexual interaction while avoiding such sexual risks as rejection and ashaming that may be characteristic of a real sexual encounter. The sexual act of exposing genitals actually takes a very short time, and very little effort or skill is invested in it. Exhibitionists probably expect their victims to be impressed by the size of their penises, and they wield a very strong desire to catch the attention of others so that they can observe them specifically when masturbating in the presence of the victim. Rarely do exhibitionists engage in sexual intimacy with their female victims, and they will also typically run away from those victims who respond by expressing bewilderment and acting in a sexual manner. Neutral response, for example, where a victim advises the subject to zip up his trousers, immediately ends the episode. Exhibitionists are rarely aggressive or violent and do not do anything beyond displaying their genitals. They are not interested in any contact with the victims and will rarely follow their female victims. These people generally feel inadequate, are shy, and have unfulfilling sexual relationships that make them feel afraid of rejection. Although most of them are married, their marriages are troubled, and most often, they are sexually dysfunctional. They are most active during stressful moments and when they have abundant free time. Some exhibitionists are sexually confused individuals, others are mentally retarded or under alcohol intoxication, while the third group is those probably suffering from paraphilia, and it is this latter group that can result in dangerous acts like sexual assault or rape. Conclusion: Exhibitionism decreases as the character advances in age, and the habit has rarely been reported in men beyond 50 years of age. Imprisonment or another form of punishment does little to prevent the recurrence of the behavior. Ignoring them is the best weapon because, through negative responses, this behavior cannot be reinforced. Did you like this behaviors, goals, and characteristics of exhibitionists sample? To get more works like this one, make sure to check out the free database of academic paper examples at ivypanda.com. You will find thousands of samples for all your study needs, without even having to register.